What are altitude memes?
So this is a 12-stage model of consciousness, and you're going to hear altitudes and memes. What do those two expressions mean? Memes refers to memetics, which is a notion of evolution. That is to say, in theory, we only have like a systems evolution concept, a basic vague concept of evolution. In biology, we have the concept of Darwinian evolution, biological evolution, which in its own way, this might take a little bit of explanation, but Darwin's theory just tells how one organism changes to another to be better at surviving in the environment. Darwin's theory is sort of a theory of development, but it does not have a directionality to it. A lot of times people will say that, well, we know that apes evolved into people because of Darwin. That's true. But it isn't true that Darwin says, the theory of evolution of Darwin says that apes will become people. As a matter of fact, it does not prescribe that at all. Of course, now that we're here, you have to make that assumption, but the actual fact of evolution is that there were apes, and now there's talking, dancing people. And that isn't just creatures changing, it's creatures becoming more self-aware, more complicated, more intelligent. That is what I consider to be evolution. Darwin I consider to be a person who's focused on the way genetic species transform over time in any direction whatsoever. But the point of evolution is that there is a directionality. That there was a planet with no life, then there was a planet with life. There was a planet with life, and then there was a planet with talking life. There was a planet with talking life. Now it's building skyscrapers and flying around and putting up satellites and going to other planets potentially. Those are evolutionary stages that are so much more impressive than like growing your neck longer to eat a branch. So this is a theory of evolution that we're just, for lack of a better term, because we don't all have like a PhD in really advanced theories. We are just calling that memetics. It's a theory of evolution, which is that ideas, data objects evolve in reality. Once you have the notion of a winged creature, wings just start popping up everywhere because that structure exists in the world and is now replicatable. So that occurs both in the biological world of life, as Darwin describes. It also occurs in the evolution and development of culture through ideas. So once an idea gets out there, such as Darwinian evolution, then it's easy to say in retrospect, well, that was always true. It just took until somebody discovered that it was true, and then you place this name Darwin on it, you place it in this theory, in this category of time. It's just a true fact about reality. It's just a description of what we're seeing happening when we just like focus on something for like longer than 10 minutes. That of course these animals are transforming into each other. Like what the hell else is happening? And of course human beings are becoming more complicated. Like duh. So those things are happening. They're happening at different scales. You don't have to call them both evolution. I am going to continue calling them evolution because I think that the best way to describe them is the word evolution. And I'm describing it as an evolution of consciousness, because before there was life, the planet was less conscious. Once there were bugs and plants everywhere, I'm arguing the world was then more conscious. Even though there weren't people, there was no dancing and singing yet, there was crickets, there was birds, there was fish. More conscious planet, more conscious universe. When those things started getting up and talking to each other and started organizing ideological systems, this to me is an categorical evolution, a new layer to reality, which is now available to everyone. That is not the same thing as a flat system of creatures becoming creatures or chemicals adjusting. It is a categorically new thing. So when animals come out with talking and writing and ideology and literature, we've moved up a stage in evolution. So as people, starting from cavemen, we're charting the evolution of memes, meme complexes, the most broad spectrum, which is to say my comprehension of consciousness, which we described earlier. My comprehension is this. That's my altitude. This is how I comprehend reality. And over time, this comprehension has been updated by human beings, by philosophers. And so to get updated to the present time, you have to be trained and go through all of these stages and get up to somewhere around green or teal, because that is the present day philosophy that human beings generally agree is true. You can be at those lower stages. You can be at those lower stages and you can say that this is reality. This has always been true. That whole rationality thing, that whole multiculturalism thing, it's all nonsense, whatever. Just the Western colonialists were right all along. Sure, you can still do that because that used to exist. It still exists. It's not going anywhere. No ideology that's ever existed is actually going anywhere. So what's interesting then is what is actually new and emergent in the world. What's interesting is that the scientific method has not existed longer than 200 years. People didn't get that logic is a thing for just nearly all the time. And it's only in a very, very recent span of time that we even get the scientific method. So as we go through these altitudes, you may be looking at some of them and saying, like, that's ridiculous. Nobody really thinks that. Oh, yes, they do. Look at young children. Look at early civilizations. Look at some of the people. I mean, just think of somebody who has like the craziest beliefs you can imagine. They are on this chart somewhere. So yeah, that's who we're talking about. That's who it is. That's what we mean. We're talking about the little kid who thinks that the planet is at the center of the universe because the child has not been trained in the answer to that question and hasn't really thought critically about it. So that actually makes the most sense. Probably we're at the very center of everything. Why not? Makes the most sense to me. So that should sufficiently describe what memes are. Complexes of ideas which emerge in 4 quadrants or from 4 dimensions. They are themselves stages of consciousness that can be divided into an infinite number of levels because we're just ideologically dividing them up. They're a continuum. So we've chosen 12 because that's a good number to work with. It makes this discussion as easy as possible.